Hello and welcome to Give Me the Remote. It's episode 46 and it is Monday the 29th of July. My name is 2019. My name is Sheridan and I'm here with my date positive co-host, John.
Just the butter in her. Yes, John here. Hello everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for your continued listenership. It is appreciated.
It is. So, what are we going to review first?
How about we do Shazam first, and then we'll get into the weird world of Phoebe Waller-Bridge and her shows.
His name is Captain Sparklefingers.
No, it's not. That's not my name.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam, based on a children's comic book, or cartoon show, sorry, I should say, that...
It's a comic book first, though.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was right.
I'll say two things and I'm right.
A rare event, but...
Yep.
So based on comic book and cartoon series from what, about the 80s?
Well, Shazam's one of the oldest, and this is why he's still allowed to use the Captain Marvel name in a very convoluted legal process.
Oh.
Shazam goes back to the Golden Age.
Right. Out of copyright, is he?
No, he's still in copyright, but they're
them, I should say.
Yeah, it eludes me the exact details of the legal fights, but I mean, it's quite interesting how comic books have actually had some of the more interesting copyright legal battles through the years. I guess because they're such long-lived properties,
and they're also big money earners, so
yeah,
there's an incentive to fight.
Yeah, but I think it's the longevity of the properties is what makes the fights so interesting, and authors come and go and have moral rights. And anyway, so Shazam, he's the one in the red costume with the big lightning bolt on his chest.
So hang on though, I thought in the cartoon series from the 80s that they were a group.
You think of the Super Friends?
No, but they all put their rings together and go Shazam.
No, that was the Wonder Twins. And they did have lightning bolts on their chests, but they were a different property.
This review now doesn't really match up with my
Right, so you thought Shazam was about the Super Friends. No!
But they do all put their things together and go Shazam.
At the very end?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not the Wonder Twins. They're the wizards protecting the Earth. So, look, I mean, a lot of this movie is hot garbage.
Yeah, it's not...
It's not high drama. There's no... magic is the underpinning of a lot of the things that go on. The concept that the 7 deadly sins are a bunch of angry monsters chained up as statues, when the things that are actually sinful in human beings are so much more complicated.
So, brief storyline. Foster kid gets moved into a new foster home, and they're about like 15 or something. Well, the main character is about 15.
You get to him after a flashback. They open with a flashback, and you're like, "Oh, this movie's about this guy," and then it turns out that it isn't. Which is a bit confusing. I was confused, but I got there.
So he moves into this foster home.
This is our hero, Billy Banton.
Billy Banton moves into the foster home, meets up with another little cool kid, and they kind of develop a friendship.
I mean, it's the nicest foster home there ever was.
It is an awesome foster home.
This movie makes you think that losing your parents and being fostered could be really cool.
And it is ridiculously ethnically diverse in that foster home. There's just...
But they're wise, they're loving, they're caring.
There's no problems. It doesn't seem to be any, really long-term trauma caused by systematic abuse that would be occurring in a foster home.
Well, not in this foster home.
Well, no, but I mean...
The foster home is possibly the most fantastic thing about this movie.
That is true. It's not Shazam. Now, it's the foster parent.
Having said that, I don't mean to cast any shade at all on the many, many hard-working, loving foster parents throughout the world who do their best.
Sorry, we really shouldn't be joking about this at all. It's a very...
Well, I'm saying the foster parents do their best, but they're often dealing with very troubled kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was an amazing foster home that Billy ended up in.
And then he discovers that... Well, how does he get the power?
He gets sucked into
the
fortress.
Sucked into a fortress. See, I'm even forgetting how it happens because it's all a bit like something... It's just a little bit of...
Bit of magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets sucked into a fortress and there's some sort of chosen one kind of element going on and he gets spat back out, but
it's never made clear why he's chosen because they do make clear that many, many have been called. And up until him, none have been chosen. There's a suspicion that the old wizard who has to hand over the mantle is just out of options, and that's why he goes with him.
I thought it was because he was the one that didn't want it.
Yeah, that wasn't entirely defined.
That's how I took it.
Yeah. But
anyway, and then he turns into Shazam. Yeah. And the kind of weird thing about this show is that the 14-year-old Billy turns into... They don't just like sort of age... progress him. He's an entirely different adult male actor.
Yeah.
Playing Shazam. It's very disconcerting.
Okay. Yeah, but I would say for all that it is silly, and it is knowingly silly, it doesn't pretend it's not. The joie de vivre in this film is amazing, and... I'm
sorry, the what?
The joie de vivre.
What does that mean?
The joyful life.
Oh my god. It's a little too highbrow.
Joie de vivre, joy of life. There's a great deal of joy in this film, and the way they go through, anytime you've got a superhero movie with another bloody origin story, and I'm so sick of having to redo origin stories. But this one, when it does he's got his powers, he's learning how to use his powers, it is funny. It is just half an hour of beautiful, joyous fun. And the stuff where he's like trying to make money as a superhero, so he's like, oh, well, get a selfie with me, that'll be $10.
The thing, it is the joke basically is having the adult male play...
Which is the same joke as Big
and
countless other...
But it does work. There's quite a lot of comic material a lot of comic fodder.
Yeah, this is the first DC film of the modern era that actually plays some decent jokes.
Yeah, it is actually more of a comedy than anything else.
Yeah, and as it's as a comedy that it works, and I guess that's all you can really say about it. I do think it's well worth a rental and definitely worth checking out if it turns up on Netflix.
Yeah, I think it's an enjoyable film. And actually, it's quite a family-focused film.
It's way more of a family film than most of the stuff we normally talk about on this Grim Trudge.
Yeah. What are you going to give it?
Straight down the line, 3 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to go there too.
It's dumb. It's nothing special, but it is joyous and it is fun. And... for something that's joyous, fun, family fare, the morality tale can't get too complicated. So I'm willing to give it a pass on the fact that it tries to, as is too often the case, contextualise the worst of humanity as the fault of external powers and not anything intrinsic to ourselves.
Do you think it's going to there'll be a sequel?
They're going to really struggle, because the best things about this are the origin parts. I would say this is the best origin story we've seen. Well, Spider-Man Homecoming was pretty awesome too. You haven't seen that one. I'm sick of origin stories. Random dude, normally dude, gets power. Well, Captain Marvel, hooray, one woman. Gets powers, learns how to use powers, and then because they're superhuman, there's no actual jeopardy and they just thump someone. That's not actually a very interesting story.
No.
And we've had it a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So what's next?
Well, we're going to do something maybe a little bit unusual and talk about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but through 2 reviews, so it's still on
So
on point.
Killing Eve first?
Let's do Killing Eve.
Which doesn't have Phoebe Waller-Bridge acting in it.
Something happened to you. I know you're a psychopath.
No, she created it and wrote it.
Yeah. And I've got to say, people who I respect their opinions love this show.
I agree.
I am not one of those people.
So we did a thing where it was suggested we watch it because, all these people we like think it's amazing. And we watched, I think, an episode and we never went back. And then the persistent sort of hoi polloi kept saying, watch it. So we went back for more.
Yep.
And I think the second time around we're in a bit more of the frame of mind for it. I found this a very frustrating show because it's so close to being really good, like amazingly good, but it doesn't get there. And that actually also that to me makes it kind of worse in many ways.
Look, I would say as a spy thriller, and now I haven't watched Killing Eve Season 2, maybe more is revealed, but the idea that there is a mysterious non-state organisation of super assassins just running around killing people, I feel that the audience is owed a little more explanation as to what's going on with that.
So the storyline is Eve, who's played by Sandra Oh, is an MI5 agent, and she's obviously an extremely intelligent, capable...
Is she actually an MI5 agent? Because I thought she was in a more policing role and then got seconded into a shadowy thing that wasn't necessarily MI5.
The Wikipedia that I'm looking at right now says MI5 security officer.
Okay, I think they're using MI5 in terms of blanket British intelligence, not
Possibly.
actually MI5. But which, fair enough, because this is all very ill-defined.
Anyway, so she's obviously an extremely capable spy, but, career's gone a little bit too desk-bound. Villanelle is a assassin.
Now, there were books that this was based on, weren't there?
Oh, don't know about that, actually.
Okay, because I thought Villanelle was a bigger property than just this.
That might be right, actually. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't actually surprise me, given the writing. Because it does seem to be very much constructed around this Villanelle character, played by Jodie Comer, who's... it's a very capable acting performance. It's a very stylized character. She's not someone you would meet in real life.
I don't know.
There's a sort of...
Everything is well acted.
I think Sandra Oh, if it wasn't for Sandra Oh, this show would be really bad. I think Sandra Oh is great.
She certainly brings literally a dash of colour to it. In what would otherwise be a very white performance.
Which, I guess is perhaps typical of the MI5 spy world.
Yeah. I think that's a complicated world, which we are never going to perfectly understand, and even people who work in it don't fully understand it. But, okay, so it's a spy thriller. The Economist has compared it to James Bond, although I would say there's a lot less spectacular car chases in this.
I think that is probably one of the faults for me, is there's not enough action.
It's a little bit like a Le Carré, but it's it's sort of like a cartoonish Le Carré.
I was thinking that it was almost a little bit like... who's that guy that directed the Darjeeling... Is it Darjeeling Adventure? This is why you need to research before you start.
What are you talking about, Sharon? All right, I'll just talk for a little bit while you look things up on your phone. Look, one thing I would say is the level of plot armor in this show staggers disbelief. Like, literally, they can have a scene where our super assassin is chasing someone across the moors, and having gone from a dead-eye shot that can just murder people at long distances, suddenly can't hit them. That scene drags on for 20 minutes while they both walk slowly across the moor, not killing each other. To me, that seemed ludicrous. Either she's a good shot or she's not a good shot. Or maybe she intended to miss, which, saw the Stormtrooper argument out of Star Wars that almost no one actually gets.
I felt like it was just a little bit over kind of engineered. Spike Jonze is actually what I think I was talking about. Maybe it wasn't. Anyway.
Wow.
No, he's not. It's not him. They're just this, it looks really good. Like, the sets are really...
Well, it doesn't look that good. Mostly it's just grey streets. It's grey streets in Paris. It's grey streets in Moscow. It's grey streets in London.
But there's kind of like this sort of color scheme that goes through like their clothing and the way the scenes are set up.
Maybe it's clever, but mostly it just looks drab to me.
Yeah, but I to me that it took like it appeared to me as though it was trying a little bit too hard.
But the other thing I would say is, and this is where we're going to talk more about Miss Waller-Bridge and her writing, I don't like anyone in this show.
No, they're all pretty bad.
Even Sandra Oh, who is at least colourful and bright and human in a world of automata.
Yeah.
She's not actually that nice. She's horrible to her husband.
Yeah.
And the the ending of season 1, which I won't spoil. She definitely does not show herself to be a particularly kind human, which is great for her character to show that, oh look, I'm a mother, but I'm also capable of doing this job. That's fine. I like that, but
I mean that is kind of what Phoebe Waller-Bridge is doing, though. A bit is kind of subverting these stereotypical feminine tropes.
Wow. Do you think feminine tropes have had enough airing that it's time to subvert them? Or do you think maybe we could actually see more women without seeing them subverted?
Well, I mean, she does
Is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's actual legacy, is that she subverts women?
No, she subverts the trope.
Does she? Or does she just subvert women? Anyway.
Look, she's definitely on a thing where she's putting women on screen to basically say, you don't have to be an object or a fantasy. You can be both of those things, but you can also be deeply, deeply flawed.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that is what she's doing.
I don't mind characters being human. I don't mind them having flaws. And we'll talk more about this on the next show, I just object to them being unremittingly crap.
But, there's a lot of unremittingly crap women out there, and most of the time on screen, they're still redeemable in some way. And yeah, she's trying to say, I'm not going to do that.
I would like to see, I mean, this is the cool thing. This is one of the reasons why Game of Thrones became the phenomenon it was. That every character was capable of extremely awful things, but you also saw in all of them, even in Ramsay Bolton, there was a courage and a cleverness that you could admire while you hated the rest of him. Maybe Joffrey was an unremitting garbage fire.
I think Bolton was pretty bad.
But there were some cool things about him.
Like what?
Oh, he had a certain swagger and ability, and I mean, mostly that was the actor. I think Johan Rion's his name. The masculinity he could bring to his physical presence was amazing in parts.
Wes Anderson, by the way, is who I was thinking of before.
Okay, well, Wes Anderson's awful.
Well, I'm just saying,
highly stylized cinematography. Yeah. Okay,
I felt like there was a little bit of that vibe.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Wes Anderson, crap.
I don't agree that Wes Anderson's crap at all.
After Isle of Dogs, there's no...
I agree that was crap and quite racist, but that's another show.
Yep.
Have we done that show? Have we done?
Yeah, we did Isle of Dogs. Yeah. Okay.
What are you going to give it?
Let's finish up on Killing Eve before we move on to more of Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Also, I do have to say, I don't need season 2 of Killing Eve.
We're probably not going to watch it, are we?
I don't need that.
Yeah.
What is this obsession with multiple series? It just annoys me, but anyway.
Well, once you've got the writing and the cast and the sets and once you've invested in one season, it's really cheap to make season 2.
Yeah.
And you've already built the audience, and half of them will hang around for the next one.
True.
So that's why we get season 2.
I get it. I wasn't
How
arguing.
many stars, Sheridan?
I'm going to go 3.
3 stars? I'm going to get 2.
I mean, I thought there was elements of it. I said to you, I thought it was close to being amazing, but it just missed the mark.
All right, then.
What's next?
Crashing. Also written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge and starring Phoebe Waller-Bridge as far as we can tell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
What's it like to only want one person?
I know you two are like siblings, right?
No, it's fine.
Siblings. Right?
Now, she's having a moment in America. Like, America's just started watching Fleabag, and they are going totally bonkers for it. And I get that, because we watched Fleabag season 1 and went totally bonkers for it. It was cool. So, I get that.
So this was, from what I understand, her first kind of big show that she created, wrote, starred in. It's not that old, actually. It came out in 2016. It's pretty short. It's only 6 episodes.
Yep.
Didn't get picked up again.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is stupid, so...
Yep.
I mean, I feel... So the idea is...
The idea is utterly confused, and it shifts as the thing goes on.
There's a bunch of, late 20s, early 30s professionals, and, we're just a vagabond group of people.
Randomly thrown together because of the nature of their accommodation.
Randomly thrown together... living in a disused hospital.
Which is being rented out as part of a conversion of urban spaces.
Which makes no
program.
sense to me.
I do believe these things actually exist in London.
Why don't they exist here? That's a great idea.
Well, except you see with all the skullduggery that goes on in this, there are issues. And old hospitals are never designed for humans to live in, which they vaguely touch on. Their rooms look pretty nice for most of this, but every now and then they touch on the grottiness of it.
So Phoebe Waller-Bridge, here she is playing a little bit of a trope, I've got to say.
I think in this, sorry, go on.
The couple in the show, who's Kate and, is it Anthony? I think it is Anthony. They're about to get married. They're living in the hospital to try and save money for their own apartment. Kate's a bit of a highly strung sort of, what would you call her? What's the English version? I'm really struggling tonight. What do you call those? Not chavs. What's the ones that live on the...
Sloanies? No, she's not Sloanies. She's just straight middle class.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I don't understand.
Aspirational, upwardly mobile.
Anyway, so they're...
Want to be upwardly mobile, but yeah.
So they're together, and... things are going pretty well for them. There's a couple of other randoms living in there that are kind of more comic relief. There's a guy, Sam, who's clearly struggling with his sexuality. And
he's just a spiky-haired real estate agent asshole, which is a common stereotype that most people can relate to.
A French artist who gets a muse who's a middle-aged divorcee.
That's probably the nicest relationship in this show.
It is, actually. Anyway, so Kate and Anthony, things are going pretty well, but then along comes Lulu. Lulu is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Lulu is Anthony's childhood best friend who apparently Kate is meant to not care a thing about, but clearly they want to have sex with each other pretty much from the moment that she enters the scene.
Yeah, and it beggars belief that
Kate would put up with that crap.
Two people in a relationship could tolerate an interloper at that level coming in and moving into the space you live in together. Maybe turn up at a party and say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in forever," and be like, "Oh, it's lovely to see you." But then you've got to establish space and make sure your partner's in the room with you all the time, or you're going to be in so much trouble. I mean, it's just.
And then they embark on this torturous sexual... it's not even sexual tension. It's like they literally cross the line of appropriateness multiple times, and we're meant to want them to get together. I don't want them to get together.
No, I don't like either of them.
I want them to be both hit by a bus.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just hate them both. But the fiancé isn't that nice.
She's not actually that bad, though.
No, she's not that bad, and he won't do better, and he certainly won't do better with Lulu, who's a nut job. And then there's a whole... the gay Australian tech tycoon, that's a funny character.
That was actually
cameo.
a good character, yeah.
At the same time, even with him, you're like looking at him putting up with all these other idiots in this thing, and he doesn't need to be there. He's got better places he could be staying for all these in love with the Indian character. But, you're like, why is he even putting up with these idiots?
Yeah.
Now, to some extent, Phoebe Waller-Bridge does subvert in that the character she plays could be a male character doing these things in a number of sitcoms and romantic comedies. So she's twisted that around from what is a male character who comes along and messes up people's love lives to a female character doing it.
There's actually this weird thing, though. So, Fred, who's played by Amit Shah, he's in a relationship with the Australian tycoon, and his best friend is the sexually confused Sam. There's actually, the show is actually, it's two concurrent, almost identical storylines of two best friends that are actually in love with each other, but are in a relationship. And I was just like...
It could have been a much better show if they'd played that as the central theme.
But I was just like, it's just, all you've done is just take the heterosexual version and made it gay. It seemed a bit lazy to me. I actually think the gay one was a lot more interesting because you had the best friend, the outsider, the third wheel, hadn't come out as being gay. And he was kind of grappling with that. And I found that actually a lot more of an interesting narrative than this kind of tried and tested and pretty awkward annoying female best friend that comes in.
Yeah. But I just hit this wall, and I hit it watching Crashing, and I kind of hit it watching Killing Eve, but I didn't quite, because it doesn't have Phoebe Waller-Bridge actually on screen. That all of her vehicles, and it casts Fleabag, and like I said, I love Fleabag Season 1, and I quite like Fleabag Season 2, but now that I've added a few more seasons of that writing, I'm just like, I want characters that are not so unremittingly foul.
I think I probably enjoyed this a little bit more than you did, mainly because I quite enjoyed the kind of soap opera element to it, and it felt like a really, really dysfunctional coupling.
Yes, as in Coupling the TV show.
Just Coupling the TV show.
Oh, it was definitely playing on Coupling. I'm sure Coupling was a reference to...
Really, it's like everything about it, to me, was Coupling, but with a bunch of really messed up people.
Yeah, I mean, the Coupling, they're not all perfect either. And I mean, a lot of people think that Coupling's a poor person's English version of Friends. I think Stephen Moffat's actually a better writer than that, and I think Coupling was a better show than that description points it out to be. But Coupling was not without flaws and stereotypes. And if this was trying to be a satire of Coupling, I think it missed that mark.
I felt like, I mean, it was only 6 episodes, so you couldn't have more characters, but I think it actually almost would have been better to have 2 more couples and be a little bit longer. Yeah, and maybe have some couples, like you say, or some people that are vaguely likeable. I mean, the French artist's quite likeable.
She's okay, but she also is just a caricature of a French artist.
She is, definitely. It's not... There's some quite sweet sort of moments there, though, that are quite... between her and the middle-aged divorcee that are quite sort of human. And
there are.
They're free of judgment in that relationship, which is, quite an enlightened position.
Maybe it's just because Ms. Waller-Bridge was not trying so hard with that bit. I'm wondering if she isn't trying too hard, trying to subvert too much. Obviously she's a very, very talented writer, more talented than I'll ever be. And she's enjoying a great deal of success. And like I said, Fleabag, particularly season 1, if you come at it...
I mean, I really like season 2 as well. So.
Yeah. But if you can't come at that for the first time, it's like, oh my God, it's a woman acting in this way. And that's kind of shocking. And the way she winks at the camera is amazing. But I think as an act... it's got limited legs, and I think I'm at the end of my indulgence of it, and I think...
Oh, I'd go back for more. I actually, to be honest with you, didn't mind Crashing. It's silly.
Yeah.
But if you go into it thinking it's a bit of a soap opera that's a bit edgy, I think you actually really enjoy it. I would... Yeah. If there was another season of it, I would watch it.
Okay. But not Killing Eve?
No, probably not Killing Eve. I can't even really explain why. It just felt a little contrived or something, and I don't think the main spy is that interesting.
I just felt that a lot of the characters were written in a certain way to evoke a certain reaction, and I need more from my characters than just what they're trying to provoke in me.
So what would you give Crashing?
You see, if I'd watched Crashing in 2016 as the first of this cavalcade. I probably would have really liked it and been like, oh, wow, that's kind of shocking and amazing. I just feel I'm at the end of my tether with this now. So I'll give it a down the line. I'll even go as high as 3.5 stars. Because this is actually the first. I've watched it last, but this is the first. It's like people who read Lord of the Rings and say, oh, that's really derivative of modern fantasy. But when it's the thing that came first. So yeah, 3.5 stars. And if you've never watched any Phoebe Waller-Bridge stuff, then get into it. You'll love the first couple of things you see.
I think I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Yeah, right.
Only because I don't do halves, and it's a tough one. I ummed and ahed on that.
Yeah, right. 4 stars is quite high considering some of the things you've been saying about it.
Well, what I mean, though, ultimately, I actually probably would have wanted to watch more. Like, it's actually, to me, a show that you pop on a Sunday afternoon when you're a little bit, you've just finished cleaning the house and you want to relax, and it's just like half an hour, and it's kind of mind-numbing and
if it had had
funny.
If it had had the pacing and the longevity of a show like This Life, to which it bears considerable comparisons.
This Life, what's that?
Oh, wasn't it the first Andrew Lincoln vehicle that hit the screens about the... This Life was a groundbreaking show of the, I think, early 90s, which was about a bunch of gay men living in London.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, right.
I might actually have to watch it. It sounds good.
Yeah, well, long before Andrew Lincoln was in Teachers or was fighting the Walking Dead year after year.
Is he English?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
You've never watched Teachers? Oh man, we need to watch Teachers and come back and do this.
I've watched some Teachers.
I have actually sat next to one of the writers for Teachers at a wedding.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he got kind of weirded out because one of my friends who is a teacher was a huge fan, and I asked for his autograph for my friend Andrew, and he was like, "That's kind of weird. Can you not sit next to me now?"
Really?
Yeah, he was a bit of a dick about it. But
I thought that would be like, as a writer, you'd be like, "No one ever asked me for my autograph. Cool, I'm going to do that."
Yeah, no, it was like, "Go away, you weird."
So did you have to move the table setting?
No, we just sort of didn't look at each other for a while.
Oh, so you continued to sit next to him?
Well, you didn't actually say go away, but it felt.
Oh, okay.
Clearly.
So did he give you the autograph?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just uncomfortable with his own celebrity.
Yeah, or maybe he didn't like me for other reasons. Who can say? Who would have thought I could be unlikable?
Shocking, I know.
Okay, on that basis, so do please send us your emails, particularly if you're fans of Killing Eve, to gmtrpodcast
or
gmail.com.
any of the Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
The email address.
Sorry.
gmtrpodcast@gmail.com. Do send us your correspondence. We love to read it out. Otherwise, feel free to comment on various social medias. And if you're a fan of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, we want to hear from you. If you live in Canberra, you can come in the pod and tell us why we're wrong.
I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I've consistently rated her shows highly.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Good for you. Well, you can come in and agree with Sheridan.
If I met her, I think I would, fangirl out to, a ridiculous level.
Really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't play it cool?
I think I'd struggle.
Yeah, right. I mean, she's 6 feet taller than you.
I once met David Stratton and I really couldn't hold myself together. So imagine what I'd do with Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah, right. And on that note, thank you, dear listeners, and we will hopefully be back soon. Good night.
Bye.